Hi all, this is Once and Future Gamer and welcome to another Pokemon Challenge. Last week we were in Generation 2 as we answered the question of if I could beat Pokemon Silver using just a single Sandshrew. A run that didn't cause too many unexpected problems. Let's kick it up a notch today as we stay in Johto, we carry on the month of Rodents and we answer the question of if I can beat Pokemon Heart Gold with just a single Buneary. So then, Buneary, and I have wanted to use this for a while. We've got a 350 base stat total, with our best stat being 85 in speed, which amongst others is actually the same speed as Suicune and Articuno. Our next best is physical attack, our special defence and HP are lower still, while physical defence and special attack are worst at 44. We are mono normal, so we are weak to fighting and immune to Ghost. Our learn set isn't fantastic looking at it. There are a lot of normal type moves here, probably the best of which is Dizzy Punch, but that's still not fantastic. Jump Kick is okay, but there is a drawback to missing it. Bounce, it technically is coverage, but I'm not sure if I'm going to bother with that move because the accuracy is trash and it's low PP for what it is. Via TM though, we get plenty of choices, though some of them aren't entirely as useful as might seem on the surface. Most of the coverage we get is from special moves, so that's going to be a problem. We get water, electric, grass, ice and ghost moves that we cannot properly utilise. One of the best moves we'll probably get is Drain Punch, since that will be good for restoring health and there's a 50% chance that'll be vital. There's Dig and Iron Tail, plus a lot of the standard normal moves that might be expected. Plus, we don't really get anything good via Move Tutor. Predictions. I think there is going to be pain on this run. Looking at what we can learn, Morty is going to suck pretty badly, since we are probably going to have to fight him with special moves. Chuck could be rough too, for sure. For one of the first times ever, Bruno might be rough as well when it gets to the Elite Four. I think if we do the post game, and that's a big if because I think we will struggle versus Lance, we might be able to beat Blue, but Red will probably be a bridge way too far. The rules then. In combat, I can only use Buneary. I will need HM slaves, but those slaves will be unable to fight. Only held items and Pokeballs in combat, but I can heal outside of battle. And last of all, no glitches or exploits. If you do enjoy what you see, then like, subscribe and ring that bell. I use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Cyndaquil with Buneary, so that I can do the whole run with it. I chose to replace Cyndaquil so that the rival will steal Totodile. And as for Alligator, mainly attacks physically, this will 100% be the hardest for us to fight. I wait to see what gender our Buneary is before deciding what to name it. Because my Buneary is male, I choose to name him Bugs, because if you have a rabbit like so, then is there really any other option? Of course there is, but I'm not inclined to put that much effort into the fort. Bugs has the naughty nature, so increased attack and less special defence, which could be useful I suppose, but it's hard to say. I'll take it. Thankfully, we also have the ability Run Away. Now you might be surprised I sound so jubilant about that ability. Here's the thing, the other option was Klutz, which means no using held items at all, so Run Away was very much the better option, and that says a lot. I don't do much training here because I know exactly where I want to do my EV grinding as I rush through the start of the game to deal with the whole egg thing before there is the fight with the rival right early on. He uses the Totodile, and for once in one of these challenges, because I haven't fought anyone or anything yet, we are pretty evenly matched. If he actually went for a damaging move, things might get interesting, but he doesn't, only choosing to leer at us twice in a row, which is probably quite unsettling if you think about it. We free hit the Totodile with pound attacks, stab ones, which are very nice indeed, and move on. I make my way to the ruins of Alth with intentions of fighting the unknown there for EV training purposes, since they give both attack and special attack EVs, which, since we're going to need to be able to hit with both types of attack, this seems a smart choice. I'm not too worried about speed since we will be pretty fast regardless, so I need to train against the Alphabet Brigade to get stronger ahead of the first gym. It's not a bad strategy, I just need to remember that occasionally one of them will have the fighting type hidden power, and to be careful about it because that may have the capacity to mess us up. It's not as much as an issue as we do train up. On the subject of training up, eventually I decide that the time is about right to take on Faulkner. Now, unlike in Gold and Silver, he is not a joke in this game, so I do have to actually take him seriously. No longer does he have a drastically underleveled Pidgeotto. He has an only slightly underleveled Pidgeotto instead. Go figure that one out. At least we don't have to worry about the Mud Slap in this instance, so let's go have our battle with him. Thanks to that training, we are able to one-hit his Pidgey with a quick attack for a swift knockout, and with that in mind, he brings out his ace, Pidgeotto, and when we go for quick attack, it actually survives the move and counters with a crit tackle, but we strike back and drop that with another quick attack for badge number 1. Moving on. We kick Team Rocket out of the Slowpoke Well in Azalea Town, but once that's out of the way, we've got to take on the Bug Gym, and this could be interesting. Cypher is going to be a problem on Bugsy's side, but I reckon we can hit that hard. I wish I had a better normal move, but unless I grind up more, it ain't gonna happen. This goes well. We hit Cypher with quick attack for over half its health, and it eats the berry before going for focus energy. Our second quick attack crits, and we drop that to give us the win over his ace, which will make things substantially easier. Can you imagine if I lost to his second stage bug Pokemon now? Metapod is a one hit with quick attack, no danger there, and Kakuna doesn't hold up either. 2 badges down, moving on. We have got a rival fight as we leave town, and it is the reason I still have foresight on bugs, because without that we have no way of hitting his Ghastly, which is a teeny tiny bit of an issue. But as it is, we don't have a problem as he talks a big game at this point, but we use foresight on Ghastly first turn while that goes for mean luck. We are not trapped in here with it, Ghastly is trapped in here with us. We drop it with quick attack. Croconaw survives jump kick. I decided that was the move to go for and hits Scary Face before our quick attack takes that out. Up last is Zubat, and again we strike it down with quick attack. We make it to Goldenrod City, and we all know what fight is in this city. It's the battle with the satanic cow and the fight with Whitney. If only we were reasonably fast, had a pretty good attack stat and knew a super effective move. Oh wait, am I being overconfident? Let's find out. Clefairy is up first and we go for a jump kick. Now there's no fairy type in this game, so Clefairy isn't resistant to being kicked in the head, and we duly one hit it with that move. Next is Miltank, and we go for the jump kick and take that out with a single hit as well. So that was a good result, can't complain here. Our levels have shot up, but keep in mind the Ghost Gym is next, and that one is going to be brutal. As we arrive in Ecruteak City, one of the first things we need to do is fight the rival in the Burnt Tower, because just like in Crystal, we need to do that before we can fight Morty, because that's the way they just decided to go with this game. We have to listen to Yuzi and whittle on for a bit before we then begin the fight with the rival. Here then is the issue, and it's why the Ghost Gym worries me. We use Foresight on Ghastly and then get hit with Curse, which wipes off a quarter of our health every turn. We do take the Ghastly out with Quick Attack on the next turn, but lose half our health in the process. Magnemite is a one hit with Jump Kick, but we lose more health before we have the fight with Croconaw next, and it survives our Quick Attack before using Scary Face. I am expecting that we go down here, but we survive with 2 hit points and then drop it with another quick attack. But finally, Curse does end us. So, that's the source of my Morty worry. There's not really a good option for dealing with this. My choices are level up until I learn Bounce, go get the Hidden Power TM and hope it's something decent against Ghosts, or play Voltorb Flip until I can get either Thunderbolt or Ice Beam, and I go down the Game Corner route, getting the Ice Beam and Thunderbolt TMs, which takes a huge amount of time, as well as a Silk Scarf, a Metronome and a Zoom Lens. The Metronome might be useful in the gym ahead, as I figure Thunderbolt will be more useful right now. We go into the fight with Rod and blast the Ghastly with Thunderbolt for a knockout. Heh, blastly. That's a relief. We jump kick the Magnemite down for a swift victory before Croconaw is next, and once again we land the Thunderbolt to knock it out. Last is Zubat, and since we've shocked pretty much everything else, it'd be rude not to do the same to this one, and we Thunderbolt it for victory. I keep the metronome on Bugs and figure that it's time to go and face Morty. I'm holding off Ice Beam for the moment, but our final moveset will probably be Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Return and Drain Punch. I figure that should see us through. Drain Punch got buffed after this gen, unfortunately, but health recovery will be nice. Our happiness is pretty good, so Return will hit hard. I can tell this because Bugs keeps trying to evolve. After all my Morty worries, this goes insanely well as we Thunderbolt the Ghastly down to give us victory in the first round. Next is Haunter number 1, and that also gets hit with a Thunderbolt to drop it down hard. Third is Gengar, and once again we Thunderbolt, though it survives and gives us a mean look. Thanks to it eating a berry, it gets moved out of healing range, and we finish that with a second Thunderbolt before the second Haunter doesn't do any better than the rest of them, and we drop it hard. That's 4 badges. I head off to tackle the fighting gym next because I figure this one might be quite rough, and I want to see where we stand. When we get to Cianwood City, there is a fight with Usine that I make the choice to do, not that I'm overly concerned about it. And if I'm honest, I actually think that the whole thing is optional. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. His Drowsy is first, and we take it out with Dizzy Punch, smacking it right in its snout for a knockout. 1 down. Next is Electrode, and we go for another Dizzy Punch to drop it before the Haunter is out last, and just as we did in the Ghost Gym, we take it down with a Thunderbolt for a swift victory. Chuck then and the Fighting Gym. We are going to be operating at a disadvantage here. One fighting type move is going to hurt, plus Chuck's Poliwrath likes to combo Hypnosis and Focus Punch, which won't do us any good. I have a plan for that though, which actually falls apart when I realise I don't have any Sleep Wakening berries. I forget what they're called. Chesto berries, that's it. Meh, what are the chances that Hypnosis lands consistently? It takes 3 attempts as we lose the first 2 thanks to being one hit by Focus Punch while asleep. If I'd done that against an enemy, Hypnosis would either have missed or they'd have woken up before I landed the move, but on the third effort we 2-hit the Primeape with Thunderbolt, getting tagged with a Rock Slide in exchange. On the other attempts, it only went for double team, so interesting AI choice. Poliwrath takes about 3/4 of its health from Thunderbolt and then misses the Hypnosis, and we can finish it for the 5th badge and move right on. We head back across the sea, and I figure it's time to face off with Jasmine for the 6th badge. We should be okay here, I think, but there's always a chance that things can go wrong, especially when you throw that Steelix into the mix. When the fight begins versus Jasmine, I'm planning to combo Drain Punch and Metronome through the entire fight, and when we take down the first Magnemite, I'm pretty pleased because it'll mean that we can one-hit the second Magnemite too, for sure, thanks to our move getting stronger every time we land it, which is something we promptly prove as we take the second Magnemite out. We do about 1/4 on Steelix as it throws up Sandstorm, and our second Drain Punch puts it to the point where it has to eat the berry to heal up. It does land an Iron Tail, but it does less than half, as I figure we're okay. And we land another Drain Punch to put it on red health and recover some HP. It then crits Iron Tail and drops us. The fact that it landed Iron Tail twice in a row is suspicious to me, but okay, whatever, I think we can do it at this level, let's go again. I make that second attempt straight after, and I figure it can't possibly go as unfortunate as that first attempt did right at the very end. I make 4 attempts, and each time the story goes very similar until the one at the end, as we Drain Punch both the Magnemite down with ease, and then we get walled by the Steelix as often it goes for Screech on the first turn, which means that we've got no chance of surviving a second Iron Tail. However, on the final attempt, it goes for Iron Tail on the first turn after we've landed the Drain Punch and misses, which is what I was waiting for. Our second Drain Punch then crits Steelix and we drop it for the 6th badge. Take that, Rusty! We have got the Lake of Rage and the Team Rocket hideout stuff next, and that's going to eat into a bit of time. After that though, it is time for the Ice Gym and slidey stuff abounds, as this takes the Mahogany Gym from Generation 2 and truly cranks it up to 11. It's still not as bad as the Ice Gym in Sinnoh though in terms of obnoxiousness. Still, the fight itself shouldn't be that bad once it gets going. I figure Price isn't the hardest. I might go for the Metronome and Drain Punch combination again because Dugong and Piloswine are both weak to it. So, this fight goes badly, but it's largely down to unfortunate circumstance. We start by banging Seal with a Drain Punch for most of its health. It survives and then Price heals it before it survives our second Drain Punch, but we drop it with a third one to mean our next punch is going to be 40% stronger. Unfortunately, Piloswine survives, eats the berry to heal, and then manages to freeze us with Blizzard, which is pretty rotten. We never defrost, and it fires 3 more Blizzard attacks at us, one of them missing but the other 2 landing, so 3 out of 4 making contact is pretty suspicious in my book, as the last one crits and then takes us out. I go again. Surely we aren't going to be that unlucky again. Surely it's not going to be the second time in 3 weeks during a Gen 4 challenge I get walled by some idiots with an ice move and an unrealistically overdeveloped freeze chance. Once again, the first part of this fight goes exceptionally similar, as Seal is a free hit with Drain Punch, thanks to that use of a Hyper Potion. It might seem rough taking 3 hits, but remember, fighting isn't super effective versus Seal. Piloswine survives our 4th Drain Punch once again, but this time it doesn't freeze us with Blizzard, which is super handy. We take it out with Drain Punch 5, which the berry doesn't save it from, before Dugong is last, and because we've been getting progressively stronger with our hits thanks to the Metronome, Drain Punch just floors it. There's story stuff next as I have to fight Team Rocket in the radio tower, and it kinda culminates with a fight with the rival in the underground, and we will have to see how this one plays out because he's getting stronger. At least the level curve on him isn't too bad, as ours only rises and rises. He begins with Golbat and we drop it with Thunderbolt. That's an easy knockout because Golbat can be irritating, so I'm happy with that. Feraligatr is next, and that also goes down to the Thunderbolt to put us 2 up, before Magnemite is third and we strike a Drain Punch that tears through its defences and 1 hits it. Sneasel is 4th, and it doesn't do any better than Magnemite as it goes down to Drain Punch, being quad weak to fighting after all. Last is Haunter, and this is where it starts to go wrong, as it survives Thunderbolt, then uses Confuse Ray on us. Oh yeah, this is going to get worrying. We hit ourselves twice in confusion as it goes first for Mean Luck and then Curse. Now that would normally be devastating if it didn't end up fainting itself to give us the win. Crisis averted. While I move through the ice path, let's talk about what is ongoing with the channel because this seems a good time to do it. So, over the course of last week, we had episode 5 of Hogwarts Legacy on Sunday, and more plots advancing along in there as well as some side quests, because who doesn't love side quests? Well, judging by the way I've been playing Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, that would be me. We had episodes 31 and 32 of that uploaded this week as I make my way towards the Fire Sanctuary. 10 episodes left as of now. There was also episode 5 of Resident Evil 2 Remake, which is halfway done at this point now. I'm loving the remake of the 4th game too, FYI. That is absolutely outstanding so far. There were episodes 12 and 13 of Pokemon Gold Unova, as I encountered a legendary Pokemon and arrived in Striaton City. Last week's Pokemon challenge was Pokemon Silver with a single Sandshrew to kick off Rodent Month. This week, obviously, we're using Buneary, and you might note that rabbits and rodents aren't the same thing. Up until slightly over 100 years ago, rabbits were considered rodents. They are closely related, however, which gives me the reason. Besides, as I said earlier, I've wanted to use Buneary for a very long time. Originally, this challenge was going to be in Platinum, but I have an idea for a Platinum challenge later on in the month. Not next week, but the week after. Next week is going to be Pokemon Yellow with a single Rattata, back to basics with the OG. And since I hinted at what's going to be the week after, I might as well reveal it will be Pokemon Platinum with a single Pachirisu. That could be traumatic given what happened last time I did a Sinnoh game with an electric type. As always, thanks for watching, and if you have any ideas for future challenges, head to the comments section down below or follow the links in the description to my Twitter or my Discord. Always interesting to hear what you have in mind. Also, while you're down below, take a second to like and subscribe, it helps the algorithm. Also in my description is a link to my Patreon if you want to support the channel. If you can't and you know anyone who might be interested in this content, then tell a friend. Word of mouth beats the algorithm. Sometimes. Back to the content as we head for the Dragon Gym. The Dragon Gym puzzle is very different in Gen 4 than it is in Gen 2. It is awkward and requires a little thought, but I wouldn't say it's particularly difficult. It just takes a few moments to wrap the brain around. But it's not too long before we can get to Claire and have the throwdown with her for the final Johto badge. I find her brag about matching the Elite Four an interesting one, since the Johto Elite Four is nothing special. There are harder Elite Fours in other regions for sure. Probably about 7 of them by my count. Anyway, she starts with Gyarados and we are intimidated before we can even begin the battle properly. But it doesn't affect our Thunderbolt and we drop it hard before it can start doing some damage. Her second choice is Dragonair number 1 and that happens to be a one-shot with Ice Beam to give us a second victory. Up third is Kingdra, and I go for a Thunderbolt, which does about a quarter, and paralyses it, which is pretty good, especially as it stops from attacking on the same turn. It survives our return on a Sliver, eats the berry which takes it out of our healing range, and then blasts us with a Hydro Pump that hurts, eating well over half our health. We take it out with another return though, before the last Dragonair comes out, and that is a one-hit with Ice Beam. Before we can head to Kanto, we have to fight the Kimono Girls, all 5 of them in a row, which is a tough fight because there is no respite between them, but I train up to get as ready as possible to face them. I can't remember what order they go in, but we're not especially struggling against any of the evolution types, so we should be fine. We don't get the chance to heal between fights, but between Drain Punch and the Shell Bell, we should be okay. The only issue might be status afflictions. First is Zuki and her Umbreon, and we have a super effective fighting type move, so I fire a Drain Punch at Umbreon, who survives it, which is somewhat annoying, before landing Confuse Ray. We do manage to fight through the confusion though, and take it out with return. That could have gone wrong, so good victory. Next is Nyoko and Espeon, and this one isn't an issue as we one-hit the Psychic type with our return, so we don't have to worry about being blasted with Psychic attacks. We're nearly halfway there, and it's about to get potentially worrying as we go into the fight with Mickey and her Flareon, who knows Will-O-Wisp, so there is a chance that we can get burned, and that would obviously be quite bad. Flareon has poor physical defence though, and we drop it with return. Next is a fight with Sayo and her Jolteon, who knows Thunder Wave, which would also cause us problems. Thankfully, we are faster and take it out with return. There is a pattern developing here, and it continues into the final with Kune and her Vaporeon. Now we do have Thunderbolt, but I go for return instead, and we one-hit Vaporeon to give us the final win needed to move on. I apologise if I mispronounced any of the names of the Kimono Girls. There is story stuff next with Ho-Oh, none of which is relevant, and we can move on to Victory Road when it's out of the way and head into the Kanto region. We do have to do the final mandatory rival fight in Victory Road, so we might as well get it going for that particular fight. It's still quite easy to get lost in Victory Road in this generation, but we make it to the fight with him eventually. He begins with Sneasel, and we drop it with Bugs' return for a swift knockout. For Alligator is next, and that's an easy one hit with Thunderbolt to put us 2 up before he goes for Magneton next, and we throw a Drain Punch at it for a 1-hit knockout. Fourth is Kadabra, and this doesn't fare any better as we drop it with Return to give us the win there. Before the 5th choice is Golbat, and torn between Return and Thunderbolt, I go for the former and it takes it down hard before we drop his 6th and final Pokemon, the Haunter, down with a Thunderbolt for a decisive victory and shatter the rival's worldview forever. As I stand in the Indigo Plateau, here are Bug's Buneary's stats at level 62, and our attack stat is great. Benefit of an attack boost in nature, I guess. Plus, speed is good too. Even our special attack isn't too bad, which given we'll need our ice and electric moves for the champion is a good sign. Defences are a bit worrying, but I think we'll be fine. My only concern might be Bruno, who begins with an Intimidator. We shall have to see. Take your guesses on if I can do it at this level or not, folks, and we shall start. Psychic Trainer Will is first, and at least we have the advantage of being able to hit his mostly frail psychic types somewhat hard. As per usual, Slowbro and Executor may be awkward, but I think we'll be fine. I like the design of the room in here, but he begins with Xatu number 1, and we drop it with Return for an easy knockout, before Jinx is out second, and given that Jinx has really bad physical defense, if I recall correctly, we take it down with Return. Next is Executor, and we take it out with a single Ice Beam. Slowbro is a bit of an annoying wall as it survives Thunderbolt and goes for Curse, before he heals it with a full restore, and we have to take it out with 2 more Thunderbolts. Didn't need that, but we can at least deal with the final Xatu with a Return to give us the victory. That's 1 down. Next is Koga, and this one could be interesting as he has some annoying and, let's be honest, cheap tactics like status afflictions and boosting evasion. Still, I think we should hit hard enough to deal with him relatively smoothly, so we shall see. First up is Ariados, who we 1-hit with Return, and that in itself is simple enough. The annoying opponent we have to face is Forretress, who insists on using Protect every other turn to block our moves, and I go for combinations of Return, Thunderbolt and Drain Punch to try and whittle it down. Thunderbolt doing less than half, Return doing about a third, and Drain Punch about a quarter. It doesn't help that he heals it too to make the fight last even longer, and by the time it goes down I am furious at his stall tactics. We 1-hit Muck with Return, which is a pleasant surprise, before Crobat is out 4th, and we drop that with a crit Thunderbolt, which is good because it means we can go into his final Pokemon, Venomoth, and take it out with a single Return for the victory. 2 down. Bruno is next, and I think we are going to get very badly hurt over the course of this fight. We might have enough to come out the other side, but I think Bugs is going to bleed. Not literally, as that would be a very different Pokemon game tonally. Hitmontop doesn't have Intimidate as I thought it did initially, so that's handy. We drop it then with a crit Return to put us 1 up. Next is Hitmonlee, and that also goes down to a Return before the Machamp is 3rd, and this, unfortunately, survives Return. And then, in the double whammy, 1 hits us from full health with Cross Chop when we are nearly 20 levels higher. Okay, so I go and train some more then. We weren't that far from 1 hitting it, so we might be able to do it with a few more levels. I get to level 70 and then make another crack at it. It should make things a little easier, even if it might just be for the round versus Machamp. Mind you, it's hardly going to make Karen and Lance harder to fight now, is it? Thanks to the rematches with Will and Koga, we hit level 71 in this fight. Hitmontop and Hitmonlee go down in the same way that they did before, 1 hit with Return, which is massive because it means we are at full health going into Machamp. Mind you, we were last time too. This time, with a 25 level advantage, we 1-hit Machamp with Return. Boom! Next is Onix, who goes down to Ice Beam. Interesting choice because Hitmonchan is last, and I can't help wondering why. although Bulbapedia later tells me that it doesn't have a fighting type move. We one-hit that with return. His Machamp also has No Guard as an ability, and one of my initial thoughts when I lost the first time was, it can't hit Cross Chop every single time now, can it? Karen then, and this one usually has the capacity to be awkward. I believe her Gengar might be possibly the worst opponent here, bar maybe the usual Umbreon hijinks, but at least it doesn't have Sand Attack in this generation, so that is something. Karen's AI does me a huge favour here, I can't emphasise that enough, and it makes this a very smooth fight. Umbreon narrowly survives return and goes for double team before she heals it. I hit another return to put it on red health, and then I click for Thunderbolt, and this changes the fight as she switches into Gengar, who takes the Thunderbolt and then gets paralysed, meaning we can take it down with another electric attack before we have to face Focus Blast or Destiny Bond. Houndoom is third and it goes down to a single return before Murkrow is next and we zap that down with Thunderbolt. Umbreon is back out and that also goes down to Thunderbolt. Balance is restored before Vileplume is last and we smash that with a return to give us the victory. That was strangely easy, but I suppose we have to see what Lance is like. If we'd gone for return before Karen switched into Gengar, we would have probably had a lot different fight there. So then, the champion. In theory, we're all set well up for combat here. We have moves that are super effective against his entire team. And it is a good job since we will be intimidated right at the start by Gyarados. So, return won't be much use. Nor would Drain Punch, though that'll only do neutral damage versus Aerodactyl. So, we've got to go the special route. Here we go. Gyarados is first, and as might be expected, we drop that with our 4x super effective Thunderbolt, which is massive because it sets us up into the fight with his first Dragonite, the level 51, which I believe is his ace. We one-shot that with a single Ice Beam, which means we will probably do it to the other two as well, which incidentally are his next two Pokemon out, though they are level 49 here rather than level 47, as they are in base gold and silver. So they're slightly less illegal here then. Ice Beam takes them both out, and just like that, we've torn through 4 members of his team. Charizard is a little harder, it survives Thunderbolt and hits an Air Slash, but we counter with return to take it down and get a little health back thanks to the Shell Bell. I'm not sure if we will one-hit Aerodactyl outlast with Thunderbolt, so I go for Drain Punch instead to get some health back, not only from the attack but from the Shell Bell, and that does slightly under half its health in damage. We take just over half from the Rock Slide that hits us, and then we finish that with Thunderbolt, and just like that, Lance's final Pokemon goes down, we win the run, we claim the champion title from here, and we can go and be inducted into the Hall of Fame for all of eternity. And thus, the credits do roll. I have a bit of time, and so I decide to head into Kanto. I will do the fights with blue and red just to see how they go, as per most Johto games. The Kanto gym leaders are a bit tougher in Heart Gold and Soul Silver than they are in Generation 2, but I'm still only going to focus on those final 2 fights in the game. Anyway then, the Viridian City Gym, and this is Rocket Game Corner Mark II with the spinny tile bits. Blue begins with Executor, and this is a simple matter to one-hit that opponent with Ice Beam for a swift knockout. If they're all that straightforward, we're going to be laughing. Machamp is next, so we one-hit that with return, which is handy, because that would be a massive issue if we didn't. Next is Arcanine, and we get intimidated, so less attack for the rest of the fight. It survives return and hits a Flare Blitz for big damage before he heals it, and we take it out with a combination of Drain Punch and return. Whew! Rhydon is fourth, and it is a one-hit with Ice Beam before Gyarados is next, and we get intimidated once more, so even less attack for the rest of the fight, but we drop it with a single Thunderbolt before his Pidgeot is last. It survives Thunderbolt, and then Blue adopts a tactic I've used in a lot of challenges, including this one, giving me a taste of my own medicine and hitting return for massive damage. Well, damn. We do finish it off with a second Thunderbolt for the last badge, but wow, I didn't see return coming. I wonder why he didn't have Alakazam in this team. So then, Red. And Mount Silver is a lot harder to negotiate in this game. It takes plenty of time to make my way here, and I think this is going to be rough. Not only do we fight in a snowstorm, he uses a slightly different, slightly higher level team here than he does in Generation 2, so we're potentially going to be up against it. I make half a dozen attempts, and there are a few of them where I get to Lapras, but that is where it stops. Pikachu is always a one-hit with return, though I am quite frankly amazed that we never get paralysed by static, but that is never a problem, somehow. Blastoise is always the one he brings out second, and that is hit and miss as an opponent to face because it always goes for Focus Blast, which isn't a particularly accurate move, as history will testify. So, if it misses that move, which is a very real chance, we can two-hit the opponent. If Focus Blast does land, we get wiped out in one hit, so it's basically Russian roulette at this point. That's not an entirely great thing before we've even started. Snorlax is third, and we can do massive damage with return, and Drain Punch is good for restoring health. But there is a question over if the move is strong enough to do the damage needed for a finishing blow in some circumstances. Plus, Snorlax knows Blizzard, which, unfortunately, isn't going to miss in the weather conditions, and that is always an issue. It's bad enough with Snorlax, it's worse when we get to Lapras, because taking a Blizzard from a Snorlax is one thing. Taking it from a Lapras is entirely another, and those hurt to the point that two of them will end us. Those efforts where we don't get finished by Blastoise, we end up getting ended by Lapras. So, I'm not max level, I could go grind up, but I think I've spent enough time on this challenge. With enough time, enough effort, and enough restarts, I reckon I could possibly get the confluence of events I need to win, but for now, yeah, I'm done. So, that was interesting. Bit of a letdown at the end, but I guess that's the way it crumbles. At least I got further here than the last Heart Gold challenge I did. And you know what? I hope that you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. As always, if you have enjoyed, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to help the channel grow. If you have any ideas for future challenges, head to the comments section or follow the links in the description to my Twitter or my Discord. I'm trying to get more active on Twitter as it feels like I neglected it for ages. It's a gradual thing. I'm doing what I can. Also, in the description, as I said earlier, there's a Patreon link down there. Tell your friends, come on by. Either way, no obligations. Fact you're here, fact you're watching. That is the main thing. That is the chef's kiss thing to say. So as I said earlier, join me again next time for another Pokemon challenge as we see if I can beat Pokemon Yellow with a single Rattata, which is sure to be intriguing. Outro time. Not really much to say, it's been a quiet week. I've not really been too well for most of it. You might have noticed it in my voice come the recording of this. There is some sort of virus going round and it really knocked me for a few, which is probably the reason I didn't go all guns blazing at Red with however many attempts. So, yeah, I don't really have too much to say really. I am probably going to jump off here. As always, folks, this has been Once and Future Gamer, and this has been Pokemon Heart Gold with just a single Buneary. Take care now, have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye now, folks. So long.